like to welcome you to the SharePoint calendars training. We have 30 minutes to go through this training. So as I said, Rebecca, if you have questions, please ask them. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I will move you to the other window. Okay, so there's different calendars, of course, that's available in Teams or SharePoint. One of them is if you go into Teams, you can go, let's say, to one of your channels, and you can always add, by clicking this Add button under a channel, you can always add a channel calendar. So if you want to collaborate with people in your channel, that's an easy way to do it. But today we're going to talk about SharePoint calendars. And the nice thing about SharePoint calendars, we can make them public available, maybe even on a website. And you can have up to 10 calendars. So some people find it that they can have 9 calendars. So if you have a department or a college and you have various departments, each department can keep their own calendar updated, and then you can combine those calendars onto one calendar. Or if you have different student clubs and each club wants to have their own calendar, and then you can combine that on on one combined calendar. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So to get to that, you have to go to a SharePoint site, and the easiest way to do that is if you're in Teams. For example, here's a team with a general. If I go to the Files tab, I'll say Open in SharePoint. So I'm just going to do all this within a SharePoint site, and of course you'll have to log in with your university ID at umsystem.edu, and then I'll enter my password. So now I'm at the SharePoint site, and SharePoint is on the back end of Teams. So again, Teams is just a front end. Everything that's stored is is within SharePoint. So here I can see my team name, and if I go to the Home tab here, so this is my home site for this team. Okay, let me make this just a little bit bigger. Okay, so now what I want to do is add an application, and it's considered a calendar as an application. So all I have to do is to create an app. If I go to New, the last option here is App. Now I will mention here that there's a new interface. Some people will see the new interface. Some people will see the classic. In order for this to work, you actually need to do a classic interface. So here it says, built-in apps can be found in the classic experience, and hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to click on classic experience, and I'm going to search for calendar, and I've already had typed up, I did this earlier, so I'm going to click on calendar. I always just type that in, hit search, and here's the calendar app. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to make three calendars, and then I'm going to combine those 3 into one combined calendar, okay? So I'll have to add this app 4 times, 3 for each calendar and then 1 for the combined. So I'm going to click add, and it'll say name your calendar, okay? It says here you can add this app multiple times and give them each a unique name. I'm going to do something easy to remember. I'm going to do a red calendar. So I'm going to do a red, white, and blue calendar, and my combined calendar will be a flag calendar. So I'm going to say red calendar create. Now what it does, it shows up here now under my contents. This just came up. It shows what's in my contents of my site. It's called an event list. That's a calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my red calendar, and you can see it's a calendar. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to use this in my flag calendar, I need to copy this site. So this is the address of this calendar. So I'm just going to highlight that, use my Control-C on my keyboard. I'm going to copy it. And what I've done is opened up a Word document, and I'm just going to store that information, red calendar here, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing for white and blue. So I'm going to create a white and blue. I'm going to copy the address to this Word document. And you'll see why I need that later, okay? So I'm going to go back. Here it says Home. So I'll go back to home and do the same thing. New, app, and of course classic. Be nice if it reverted back to that. And then calendar, search for it, and then add it. Okay. And this time we'll do white, calendar, create. And then I always it's easy to open them up, white calendar. And they'll say right here, I'm in the white calendar and I want to copy this address. And on here, I'll just put this below it. Enter, and it'll have the link. Okay, and then one more time, I'll go back to my home. New, app, classic, calendar, and then this one here will be my blue. Create. And again, I'll find my blue calendar. It says it's an event list. And I'll copy that address. And I'm going to paste it over here. Well, for some reason, it's not letting me put that over top of that. So I'm just going to paste that onto the blue on that spreadsheet, or sorry, on that Word document. Now, the last one I'm going to do is one more calendar, but this will be my flag calendar. This will be my, hit home here. Sorry, I was in my personal workspace. I hit the wrong button. So I'm in home. I'm going to say a new app, classic. And you see each time I open up one, it's open up another window. Let me close some of these. Okay. So I'm going to, again, do calendar, but this one will be my combined one. So this will be my flag calendar. So it'll have all the red, white, and blue. Okay. Now in this one, you'll see over here on the left, I have a red calendar, white calendar, and a blue calendar. This flag calendar, it's going to, I want it to show an overlay is what it's called, an overlay of the red, white, and blue. So at the top here, you'll notice I can go to calendar and I can get different options here. The calendars that I want to include on this, I'm going to list out the ones that I want to overlay onto this calendar. So I'm going to click on calendar overlay. I'm going to add a calendar to this list. So I'm going to click on new calendar. And I'm not creating a calendar. I'm just going to add my red calendar. And I can call it whatever I want, but I just want to be consistent here. And I can say red. You can give it a description. The color that I want to use here, here's red for red calendar. And it's asking where that calendar is. And so I will copy that information from this site here. So I'm going to highlight this, select copy, and I'm going to paste it right in here. I'm going to resolve that just to make sure it finds it. And here, it'll find all the calendars in here. So I want to make sure I select appropriate one. I'm going to select red calendar. And I'm going to say always show that calendar. Okay. And I'm going to select OK. So now my red calendar is in there, and I'll do the same thing for white and blue. So this one, I'll call it my white calendar. And again, you can name whatever you want, but just to make it simple. Of course, I don't want to show white. We'll make this one it's kind of an ugly green. We'll do a dark green for the white calendar. And I'll copy the address. I'll paste it in here and resolve it. It'll go out and find it. And I want to make sure to choose my white calendar. So it goes out to that SharePoint site and finds my calendars. And I'll say always show that one in this calendar as well. And finally, so I have my red and white, and finally I'll do my blue. Okay, Description, of course, with that one, dark purple, dark teal. That's close to blue. We'll do a teal. I'll copy the address again. I'll paste it in here and I'll resolve it. Blue calendar, and I'll always show it. Okay. So now what I can do, over on the side here, I have a red calendar. I can go right to my red calendar. Let me just add an appointment. This is September, and on the 15th, I'm going to say, oh, sorry, I didn't show you how that was done. If you go to the 15th, go down here to the bottom. So if I click on this, you'll see an ad pop up. So I can add an appointment. So I'll just put a red appointment. You can put location. You can specify a category, right? I can say this is a meeting or a get-together. I'll just say this is a meeting. And, of course, all-day event, a recurring event. You can do that as well. So I'm going to save that. So that's my red appointment. Now if I go to my white calendar, I'm going to put one on a different day. I'll say the 16th. White appointment. And kind of do the same thing, and I'll make this one here a business instead of a meeting. And finally, on my blue calendar, I will add a blue appointment. And we'll make this one, see, we did a meeting, business. Let's get this one here, just a get-together. And we'll make them all at 1 o'clock. Okay. So now if I go to red, I'll see that. And these colors are on its own calendar. But if I go to the flag calendar, you'll see it'll have the red. It'll combine those calendars for you. Okay? So then what I can do, I can take this flag calendar and I can post it, or I can share this information out. If I can go to calendar here, you can get list settings on who can make changes on each of your calendars by hitting calendar. So you can say certain people, if I click on list settings, it says permissions for this list. So then I can give certain people certain rights to make changes on that calendar. Okay. Let me go back to the flag calendar. Another thing you can do, you can also link this or connect this to Outlook. So you can do all this work within Outlook. So if I say, you know, if I work with the red group, I would go to calendar, and here it says connect to Outlook. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'll say, yes, go ahead, associate this, open in Outlook. And what happened was this popped up on my screen, connect this to Outlook, and I'll say, it just wants to make sure it's a secure link for your Outlook. So I'm going to say yes. So what that did in Outlook, it added this. Under other calendars, it added what team it was from, and it said, okay, this is my work calendar here. And I think it was on the 15th, 16th, 15th. It shows that appointment. I can always do another appointment from Outlook. So that I double click there, and you use it just like any other calendar. Another red appointment. And so then if you're comfortable using it here, I can say save that. So now if I go to SharePoint, because it's all stored on SharePoint, all behind, it'll sync it with SharePoint. So back here, I might have to refresh my screen or just go to another calendar and come back. And here it says another appointment. So you can sync that. You can connect it to Outlook, and you can do everything within Outlook, and it's stored in SharePoint, and then you can assign rights and make those calendars available.
And that's a benefit because you can share it?
Yeah, so now I can determine, it's a good question. So I can share this, or I can post this on a website, right? I can also go into calendar. I can connect it, and if I can share it because it's in SharePoint. Like I can put it on a website. I can also click on link settings, and I can determine who has access. You can also change your name and description here. So there's things you can do under your settings. Okay. So here's the name of the calendar. it asks if you want to always display it over here on the quick launch. Right now I have it under recent, but if I say, yeah, this red calendar, I'll make sure it's always shown. So if I save it now, it's over here. This is just recent ones, but if it's something I'm always going to use, then I can always, if that's my calendar, I can easily come to it here now, just by clicking on that one. Okay, so that's how you can create a SharePoint calendar. You can create up to 10, but if you're going to overlay it on one, then you can have up to 9 calendars because you want one calendar to be your overlaid calendar.